Hello and welcome to the WBAP 820 570 KLIF Weather Podcast for Tuesday, February 1st from the Cumulus Broadcast Headquarters in DFW. Normally this is a weekly thing, but because of the approaching winter weather, we thought it'd be a good idea to put out a little extra warning and a little more information about how this winter storm is developing and what it's going to be capable of, because as we've gotten closer to the storm, or as the storm gets closer to us, I guess I might say, the expectations of this storm are getting a little bit worse. So in light of that, we wanted to bring you the very latest information we have. And please share this with friends and family. Bring them to the WBAP weather page and to the podcast page and so forth so that they can see this as well. Because the key to preventing unnecessary damage, injuries, and God forbid deaths is proper preparation. We want to make sure as many people can get the word out about that as possible. So let's begin. Here's something that's a little more troubling than what we saw the last couple of days. If you look around Houston, where all those lights were just going out, and around Galveston Bay, you can see a counterclockwise swirl of energy. That's one of those upper-level disturbances. It is charging Gulf moisture, warm Gulf moisture, in here at low levels into the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And that really gives us pause, because Pacific winter storm systems are bad enough the way they are. A lot of times they rain out or snow out a lot of their precipitation as they cross the mountains, and that's a good thing. But this particular Pacific storm system is actually coming in more from the southwest and moving to the northeast, so it's not quite moving squarely through the Rockies as some do. And also, with the Pacific moisture and the Gulf moisture combined, then our accumulation totals are going up somewhat, and this is going to make the storm a higher impact storm than it would have been otherwise. Let's go ahead and move on to the next slide now. Here's our winter storm watch in effect from 6 o'clock Wednesday evening through 6 o'clock Thursday evening. This could easily be a 24-hour or longer event because of the Gulf moisture, the Pacific moisture, and the slow movement of the upper-level storm system that's coming through from the Pacific. Okay, now, North Texas. Snow accumulations, we were saying snow and sleet 1 to 2 inches. Now we're saying up to maybe 3. Now, this could be worst-case scenario, but 3 inches of snow will shut down most of Dallas-Fort Worth, I would think, especially with 1/3 of an inch of ice underneath that on the surface streets and also on the bridges and overpasses. And there will be ice on the surface streets once temperatures get down into the 20s, and that could happen before midnight Wednesday night. So everything is coming together for a high-impact winter storm. You got to be ready for that. Now, this is a pretty complicated chart, but don't let that bother you. Let's just look at the DFW Metroplex line up here. This is the timeline, so we can expect rain to begin with temperatures in the 50s Wednesday morning, and then as the colder air starts moving in and the winds increase out of the north, then temperatures will drop. They probably won't go below freezing before 6 o'clock, and maybe later, but sometime during the nighttime hours, that rain is going to change to freezing rain. Now, again, it's a shallow, cold air mass to begin with, so rain is falling into a cold air mass, but it's not freezing just yet. So that is how you get ice on the bridges and overpasses. Now, sometime Thursday morning, the cold air will get deep enough, tall enough in the vertical extent that the raindrops will freeze and become sleet, and then eventually it'll change over to snow before ending Thursday night or maybe early Friday morning. So that's how we're going to get a pretty significant accumulation of ice, then sleet, then snow. On top of that, very cold wind chills. We could see wind chills, if we're lucky, in the teens. If we're not so lucky, in the single digits down to near 0. So it's going to be very dangerous for anyone left outside. You're going to have to really prepare for this. And again, if you don't have to get out in this thing Wednesday night or Thursday, stay home, stay dry, stay warm, and stay safe. Now, here's where we may see the highest amount of ice. This is where we could see the worst power outages, tree limbs into power lines and so forth, from Denton over to McKinney to the Sherman-Denison area, and even to an extent in northeast Dallas County and in northern Rockwall County. There could be not just dangerous travel conditions, but tree breakage and significant power outages in the Encore system. So keep that in mind. But even in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, all the way down to Waco and Killeen, we could see icing of trees and power lines and some power outages along that line. So keep that in mind as well. These are the preparations. We had this chart up yesterday from the Weather Service, but again, prepare your home by covering your faucets, disconnecting the outside faucets from the hoses, please. If you have a kitchen faucet or a bathroom faucet that's on an outside wall, open the cabinet underneath to let heated air reach that, and also let it drip just a little bit at night. Power outages, yeah. Batteries, absolutely. Make sure you have fresh batteries. Avoid generators unless you really know what you're doing. You can't put a generator in your garage. Can't do that. It's got to be totally outside and have fresh air. Candles, flames, also got to be extremely careful with that. And if you have to be in your car, you want to make sure you have a full tank of gas, jumper cables, and survival gear to get through this, because you may be safer to be stuck in your car than to try to walk somewhere if you do get stuck in snow or ice or on an overpass. Oh, by the way, one other thing. If you do have to get out Wednesday or Thursday and travel any distance, you're going to have to pretend that freeways do not exist. Avoid the freeways as much as you can, because they're going to be iced up, number one. Number two, there's going to be a lot of accidents on it because a lot of people won't avoid the freeways. And if you stay on surface streets, they're going to be a little bit warmer, and they're going to be a little bit flatter in most cases. And if you do get into a wreck, you can probably get somewhere, to a door on a corner or somebody, something like that, than if you were stranded on a freeway. So pretend the freeways don't exist. Take the old side street. Instead of I-30, take East Grand. Instead of 183 or I-30, take Jefferson all the way from between Dallas and Fort Worth. All those things, 180 division through Arlington. So again, stay on surface streets as much as you can. This is a model that indicates a long-lasting event. This is about a 24-hour model, the North American model. And it's showing us that we can expect rain, then the purple, ice, and then the snow in the blue. And you understand that with the movement of this storm system from southwest to northeast, it's going to be like a train coming through. It's not going to be just one big hit. It's going to go on and on for some time. And 3 inches may not even be enough of a forecast for snow. We'll just have to wait and see how that happens. And this particular system is going to go all the way from Kansas through Illinois, Indiana. Could get a foot of snow in Illinois. We could have significant snows all the way through Indiana, Ohio, the Great Lakes. This is going to be the second big storm system in less than a week across much of the United States. Here's what our weather map's going to look like this morning, Tuesday morning. Here's what it look like, expected to look like this evening. Snow and ice will begin in Kansas, Nebraska, Colorado, and start to move into Oklahoma overnight, and then move toward the Dallas-Fort Worth area. The big front, the one that's in the Dakotas right now, will be moving in. That's the Arctic front that's going to make a huge difference in our weather. If you'll also look down toward Houston, there's that low-level moisture that's moving up from the Gulf, and that's going to be a big factor in our storm tomorrow. Okay, this is the Wednesday weather map. Dallas-Fort Worth is in trouble, Tulsa's in trouble, Little Rock's in trouble, and all those areas to the northeast are going to be getting ice. We'll have strong accumulating snows up in the Midwest states, and then very heavy rain in southeast Texas through Louisiana. As we move through time into Thursday, we're still getting ice in the Dallas-Fort Worth area until Thursday evening. We could also see severe thunderstorms in the deep south. So this is going to be a high-impact storm for a lot of the country, and again, we want to be very well prepared for it. Here's our forecast. Winter storm watch, again, from 6 Wednesday evening through 6 Thursday. That will be upgraded to a winter storm warning before long. For the rest of Tuesday, cloudy, breezy, warm, and humid with a high of 67, lows in the 40s, southeast winds from the Gulf, 10 to 20. And then on Wednesday, cloudy, windy, and rainy, turning colder during the day. A high 56 will be in the morning hours. Lows could be near 20 by early Thursday morning. We could see heavy rain during the day. Wednesday, changing over to freezing rain anytime after dark with gusty north winds. Thursday, a bad day. Cloudy, windy, and cold with sleet changing to snow during the day. 1 to 2, possibly 3 inches possible in the DFW area, and more ice to our northeast. Look at the temperatures. A high of 23, lows 10 to 15. Wind chills could be near 0. And on Friday, finally, mostly sunny, breezy, and cold. We won't melt it all off, but the sun will come out with a high near freezing, but lows will still be in the teens and wind chills in the single digits. Thank you so much for watching watching this extra podcast. And please, again, send your friends and relatives to this podcast to give them the best possible information we have at this hour. As things change throughout the day, remember, the WBAP, KLIF, and the Cumulus station will keep you advised on the weather throughout the next 48 hours, and be very careful with that. Every time there's a new update from the Weather Service, we will be passing that along to you. Thanks again for joining us on the Weather Podcast from Dallas-Fort Worth.